Geez, are we in episode 10 of Lego Marvel Superheroes already? Well, yeah, we are, and, we're kind of out of characters that I wanted to show off here, so what I'm going to do is show off some created characters. Now, each created character can have a total of two sets of abilities based on two other characters. So this character right here is John Henry, named after the American folk hero. And you can see that this time, if he was to go into battle with a steam engine, he would be carrying Mjolnir. I also gave John Henry the additional power of Sandman. So that was kind of... so he is a really flexible character, able to do the abilities of Thor and Sandman. So he can fly, he can charge up electric items, and that gives you a good view of, again, the X-Men suit. Now, this character in front of us here is a character based off of me. Now, as you can see, it uses Coulson's face and hair, Gambit's jacket, so it gives me an unnecessary six-pack, and also gives me the Destroyer gun, which I thought made sense since I'm not likely to be flying around anywhere, but just giving me the biggest gun. Now, the Destroyer gun only blows up silver objects in this game, so it only does one of the Iron Man powers. In LEGO Marvel Avengers, the Destroyer gun will be able to destroy gold objects as well. And I think that makes a little bit more sense for something that's, based off of the Destroyer. But this time we are sending Iron Man and Thor out after a SHIELD research submarine because we think that Doctor Doom is underwater. And it turns out that Doctor Doom's not exactly underwater. Doctor Doom is above water. And so he uses his floating battleship slash research facility or oil platform. I mean, there's no real definition of what this thing is other than its weapons. And you can see it's armed with anti-air stuff to the teeth. But one pass by the Iron Man Mark 42 suit, and we have taken care of all that stuff without lifting a finger. And here's our company as we attack this platform. And I like this little bit of dialogue here because they're attacking the seeming possibility for Spider-Man to always shoot a web up and use it to swing from somewhere. It's been a video game feature. It's a feature in this game. And I think it's also been toyed with in the movies. So here we are down in this battle platform. And as you can tell, this battle platform is controlled by A.I.M, one of the organizations associated with Hydra in the comic book universe. This is the second time we've seen A.I.M in this game, because the first time we saw the movie verse A.I.M, which was run by Aldrich Killian and involved the Extremis soldiers. Now this time we're looking at comic verse A.I.M. So now you get the guys in the funny radiation suits. In theory, they're all supposed to be the same group. And I wouldn't put it past Marvel to bring A.I.M back in the future. I mean, in theory, Gwyneth Paltrow killed Killian. But, with Extremis, sometimes it's hard to know what exactly dead is. And I could definitely see them bringing back Killian, or at least part of Killian, in order to make another villain. who historically has no connection with Killian whatsoever, since Killian was created for the movies, that we'll run across here later. So now we're using what's really this is a really beefed up team here. I mean, the skill set's not terribly diverse because Iron Man and Thor have a fair amount of overlap in their skills, and Spider-Man also has some overlap too. So Spider-Man is probably the most singularly unique individual that we're playing with right now. I mean, it just seems like a powerful group. I mean, here we have Spider-Man, Thor, and Iron Man all in the same place, going after well, right now we're going after our submarine. We're just assuming that Doctor Doom is behind it somewhere. So you can see, got to use the Spidey sense. Got Spider-Man hanging up. And then using his web powers to open this water main that we've sort of set up earlier. And so we can put out this fire, and then we can break this stuff in order to build something to open that door. And since Thor is with us, you can imagine that the thing we're going to build has something to do with him, and it is, this little electric, I guess, switch. I'm not really, I'm sure I've called them something else in the past. But when I think I'm going to run into A.I.M soldiers, I'm sticking with Iron Man again for the anti-personnel stuff. Long-range attacks in this game are so much more effective than short-range attacks. It's something that they sort of nerfed in Lego Marvel Avengers. I mean, if you control ranged characters in that game, you'll still have an easier time getting through large numbers of flunkies. But you're not going to kill them on the first shot necessarily, which, is sort of a disappointment. So now we're looking for an alternative way to get through that door. And I'm just sort of smashing things up. And we see some wires, and here's a boat. So now we're going to blow up stuff on this boat. Spider-Man makes a bad joke about boats. I don't know exactly why this fishing trawler is here. I don't know if this is Doctor Doom's personal fishing boat, or if this thing just happened to get in the way, and so they snagged it on their way to take over the submarine. Whatever the case, we got what we needed from it, courtesy of Thor and Iron Man. And now Spider-Man. And we're going to run into one of the neater little mini games here. Always forget that Spider-Man, despite his native intelligence, he's not a tech whiz, at least according to the powers of this game. Right, so we use the little mini sub here to power on one half, and then we're going to go and attempt to grab a blue stud, but then I just move on and power up the other half. And now we've built a bridge where there was none before. And now we have access to this generator here that's holding up the door to our left that Dr. Doom sealed himself away from us with. And we try to build stuff, but yeah, evidently Tony wants to just use his laser to cut things instead. So Thor is going to overcharge the generator which is going to shut it down, which is going to break the security on this set of doors here, and allow us to get up there. And so we're just going to, since Thor can fly, something that I'll forget with Thor, just because I don't use Thor a lot, I'll forget several of his powers, including, you know, his ability to shoot electric bolts when he's charged, or things like that. Just because I'm, you know, so used to the idea of him just hitting things with his hammer. And that's not the only thing he can do. Thor is actually a pretty well-balanced character for this game. I just don't tend to use him because there are, you know, other characters like Iron Man can do the flying and knocking out people, and there is another villain associated with A.I.M. This is MODOK. And this is how I think that if they wanted to, they could bring Killian back and sort of keep continuity with the A.I.M. organization. I think that they could turn Killian into MODOK. Now, in the comics, that doesn't happen, but again, we're not really working in the world of the comics. In the comics, you know, War Machine doesn't get knocked out of the sky in Civil War. Heck, in the comics, Cap doesn't survive the Civil War. By the way, spoilers for both of those. Now here, there's going to be a flood of A.I.M. soldiers, and you basically need to wait for MODOK to run out of power. Now, if his laser gets too close to you, you can change to another character. My recommendation is changing from Iron Man to Spider-Man if you have any sort of control, just because you'll always have a character who can shoot from distance. Because Thor may or may not be... Now, to hit MODOK, you got to get right next to him and punch him. You can't just shoot him with repulsor beams like I was trying to do. Anyways, yeah, Thor can be a distance fighter, but he has to be charged up. And again, you don't need to charge Iron Man or Spider-Man to have them do that. So when you're running away from that laser, switching between those two characters makes the most sense. So we've hit MODOK once. Now we've hit MODOK again. And again, I'm just acting like an artillery piece here, or a machine gun, just standing back and shooting, gunning down all the enemies. So, again, switching over to Spider-Man when the laser gets too close. Laser gets too close again. Going over to Iron Man. Getting some really nice bonuses that would be worth something if there were all that many studs to be found in this area. Right, so I'm going to try to use Thor to... You can target MODOK from a distance, but all that does is trigger his next phase. It doesn't necessarily hurt him. And then he tried to overwhelm us, and he ran out of juice again, so we hit him for the second time. He goes away. Now we've got more A.I.M. guys to kill here. You'll note that none of these A.I.M. guys are extremist types, because again, this is what A.I.M. looks like in the comic books. Alright, so I'm going to try to, once again, get him to move on to his next phase. So he's going to belch out all this crap. And then run out of power, and then we can hit him again. He's not... Again, once you know what you're doing, he doesn't take that long to deal with. I really dragged this out by not using Thor to kind of force him out of his moves. And now Doctor Doom's going to make a run for it in our submarine. Except that now the A.I.M vessel is having problems, probably because, well, I'm not exactly sure why the A.I.M vessel is sinking. I don't think we blew up anything that would have caused it to do that. But fortunately for us, here is Jean Grey to stop us from drowning to death. And so this begins really the first stage of the end of the story. Because what happens from here is that we're going to see the formation of two teams. One team is going to be pursuing Dr. Doom, and it is the team made up primarily of these four people you see in front of us. Then another team will pursue Magneto. And eventually the two teams will meet each other for the final showdown in space once Dr. Doom and Magneto have joined up. Now, at this point, I sort of forgot what to do here. What I need to do is I need to come over to the left and blow up this stuff. And that's going to open up a Thor spot. You can see it now. So now Thor comes along. He'll open up this whirlpool, which will throw a bunch of other stuff that will allow us to build Patrick's star. And Patrick waving at us. Patrick better not to get too comfy here, though, because we are not going to let him do that for very long. So Spider-Man's going to grab Patrick by the thighs and pull him down. And then we're going to run into a series of Doombots, which we got rid of pretty easily, again, because of the long-distance capabilities of Spider-Man. And I really do miss the effectiveness of long-range characters in the sequel, Lego Marvel Avengers. And I guess to make up for it, they gave Hawkeye more powers, but I don't really know if that was a fair trade. So we're making our way down on the floor, and as you can see, they're talking about the shield sub, being parked or crashed, depending on how you want to look at it, at the bottom of the sea. And so we're going to walk over there. And this just shows you how sort of overpowered, I guess, Jean Grey is. Not only is she keeping us from drowning in the water, but somehow she has to be sorting the oxygen from the water as well, because, this bubble's not going to there's not enough air in this bubble to make it, to keep us safe forever. And it's possible, particularly with us shooting stuff in the bubble, which would also react with oxygen and cause problems. So I guess if I wanted to be true to life, not that any superhero movie or superhero video game's true to life anyway, we would have completely gone melee combat to get here, because that would have taken less oxygen. But for the moment, just let the suspension, suspend your disbelief. Let Thor, who used an incredibly slow-mo move on the last one, and a almost as slow-mo move this time. We'll let him do work. And then we'll blow up stuff on the floor and collect some studs. Because it's a Lego game and we collect studs. Alright, so now we see the Kraken has got a hold of this pillar. So to get rid of the Kraken, we are going to blow up his shiny gold somethings. Knuckles? Not sure what the right word here is. And since the Kraken has let go of this thing, Spider-Man can now pull it down for us to walk on. And fall off. And there we go. Yep, now Spider-Man's back. Now you can see Jean moves at a constant pace. I don't know how many hits it takes to kill Jean and sort of lose the mission that way, because she specifically asks you to protect her at the beginning of this sequence. Alright, so now we found our sub on the ground, and now we're going to replay the Hunt for Red October by banging on the side of the sub. Now we're trying to get in, but Hunt for Red October, they were just trying to communicate that they were there. So that someone would just open the hatch. And so now we've confronted Dr. Doom with all of his cosmic bricks. And of course, if you think this is the end, you're a little mistaken. As the sub jars loose, because we still have Magneto with the Tesseract to deal with. I don't think Dr. Doom's done with those cosmic bricks just because we happen to catch him and corner him. So we'll deal with that issue next time. See you then.